Hi, I'm Lou Gallagher.
I'm Corvette Ronnie.
You know, a while back, I wanted to get some protection for the home and purchase a gun. So I went right to my buddy, Officer Ron, and he helped me with the transaction. And this is what we purchased. This is a Glock 22. And today, we're going to show you how to disassemble and clean a Glock weapon. Next on Men Are So Smart.
All right, well, welcome to today's show. Today we're going to go through, we're going to break down a Glock, and this is pretty much for any Glock out there. They're all fairly universal as how they come apart. We're going to break one down, and we're going to clean it and lube it up and put it back together, and then we'll see if it functions afterwards. The very first thing you need to do is make sure that you look at this weapon inside and out. We've already dropped the magazine. There's no mag in it, as you can see. We're going to look down the chamber. Actually, I can put my finger in there, look down the magazine well. No rounds anywhere. So from here, I'm going to close the action. And to disassemble a Glock, you have to actually pull the trigger. So now that it's pulled, I'm going to kind of reach up here with my grip, and you only need to break this back about like 1/4 of an inch, and then you'll see a little takedown lever on this side and this side. And it's a little awkward to do this, but once you have this pulled back, this action pulled back like 1/4 of an inch, you can pull down on these levers and that will release it, and then this whole thing should just come apart. So we'll see. There's that, and right there, that's how easy it all comes apart. So we've got this part, spring, and the barrel. So these are the 4 components that we're going to be cleaning. We don't need to worry about anything else. We don't have to take it any further apart than this. Glocks typically, they don't really need a lot of oil, and so you'll find that a lot of them may be kind of dry when you take them apart. With my department, I work for a sheriff's department, we have a Glock out at our range that our SWAT team goes out and they put 50 rounds through it every week. They've never oiled it and they've never cleaned it. And this has been ongoing since we transitioned to Glocks years and years ago. They're unbelievably versatile and great weapons. Very few failures. The early ones might have been a little bit more prone to, you know, some kind of frame failures, but man, these latest generations are bulletproof. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to take this and we're just going to kind of go through. You may see some carbon on it. Dust off any of the carbon you see. This one is actually pretty clean, but this is how you'd work it anyway. Along these rails on the side, just get any little carbon buildup off there that we can, and up inside the magazine well. We're gonna just knock everything out of there. Looks good. Looks real good. We don't really need to do anything with the spring. You can, if you've shot it a lot, you can do the same thing with the spring. You can run it through. If there's carbon on here, which there is nothing on this one, or it's actually more of a kind of the byproduct of the gunpowder, you can just spin it around and knock all that off. This one is very clean, so nothing to worry about. Same thing for your for the slide. Going to go through and get these rails nice and clean. We can put a little bit of solvent on a clean patch and run it right through these slides, and you can see that's what you're getting out. We're going to keep doing that until we get this thing pretty clean, until my patch comes out of there with not a lot of black on it. That'll tell us that that's about as clean as... And honestly, you could do this for an hour. You're never going to get it to be completely... It'll never pass the white glove test completely. So get it as clean as you can. Again, No chunks on there. We're going to follow it up with my toothbrush. This is actually my son's toothbrush. I just borrowed it for a minute. I'll give it back to him as soon as we're done cleaning this gun. And again, you know what? There is a little bit of fouling right in here. We're going to get this. And yeah, you can see that came out. And you'll be able to see anything on here that's a different color. That is what you're going for. And then get a clean rag and pretty clean. All right, this is the business end of this weapon system right here. This is the barrel. When we're cleaning the barrel, we're always going to go from the breech side to the end. So this would be the side that is nearest the chamber of the gun. And what we're going to do on this, we're going to dip our brush in the solvent. We're going to stick it in here, and we're going to work it back and forth. And you're going to do that until...
Faster, faster.
And it's going to be, and again, you don't want to do this over your wife's fine tablecloth, because this leaves some marks. You get the solvent on here, and it's not pretty. So the easiest way to tell if your barrel is clean is I stick my fingernail underneath here, and what it does is it puts a nice reflection down the barrel, so I can see if there's any specks in there. This one is remarkably clean. So now we're going to follow that up with a clean patch. So all we're going to do is get the rest of the solvent out of there. You can twirl it and then pull that one off, and then go to a clean patch and repeat. Until that thing comes out clean. And I always recommend that if you do twirl this, you twirl it clockwise, because these little bits are put on and they're threaded on. If you do it counterclockwise, you may lose your little cleaning bit about halfway down there. So again, I'm going to look down the barrel. I'm going to put my fingernail down there, and that is clean enough to eat off of right there. All we're going to do after this is follow it up with a little oil. And like I said, these guns they'll run dry. They'll run with no oil at all. So a drop is more than enough. Put this patch on your tip. You can even put a little bit of oil once you get your patch situated, and you can see where it's going to hit. I can see this is going to be the spot where we're going to get it. So all this is going to do is just leave a film on the inside of the barrel. You don't need very much at all. In fact, if you can see oil in there, you have too much. All you're going to see is just a reflection. That looks great. Not too much oil. Okay. From there, we're going to take one more patch. We're going to put a little oil on it. And we're going to hit some of the parts of the barrel that need lubrication. Again, these guns don't require much oil anywhere, but the barrel, and you'll see there are actually places where there are rub marks. That's a place where there's some friction. So a little bit of oil there, not much. It's just a sprinkling. This ramp right here, your feed ramp, put some there. Right up top, I usually get all three sides of this on mine. I have some wear marks on here, and so I'm getting that. This area here I'm going to get, and we've already gotten the barrel. I'm just going to kind of take off the excess. We don't want this wet by any stretch of the imagination. That looks pretty good. On our slide, we're going to put a drop here. That was actually like 3 drops. We're going to take the excess off. And then with that oily rag, I'm just going to get back here. And then on the rails, there's a little indentation in here. This is actually what slides on the guides of the gun. So we're going to put a drop here and just kind of coax it down, and do the same thing on this side. Put a drop here and coax it down. We don't need very much oil. We're going to take out the excess for sure. We just don't want... We shot SIGs before this, SIG sours. They need a little more oil, but even SIGs run very well nearly dry. And our department did the same thing where they sent the SWAT team out there. They shot that gun over and over and over again. They dropped it in the water, in the mud, and the thing never failed. We never had a single failure with either the SIGs or any of our Glocks, so we're in pretty good shape. All right, everything looks copacetic. We're going to slide the barrel back in, and you can kind of see that barrel, if it's in there properly, it's got a little bit of a couple degrees of cant to it, and that's correct. That's the way it's supposed to be. All right. One thing I forgot to mention, you don't ever want to get any solvent on your sights. These sights are tritium, which is kind of a glow-in-the-dark thing. They can be deteriorated, and you can definitely ruin the sights by getting solvent in them, so keep that area clear. That slides in nice. Next thing we're going to do is put our spring back in. Spring really only goes in one way. There's a little step back here. It's larger of the 2 plungers. So this part, small part, is going to go forward, and we just push this until it catches on the ledge of the barrel, the first ledge, and that is put back together. That is assembled. We are going to put a drop of oil because I can see wear marks here, so we're going to put a drop of oil on here, and same thing for this side. Put a drop of oil on there, and we're going to work it in. Again, any place you see something that looks like it's metal on metal and is worn, put a drop of oil and then take off the excess. If it's shiny, that's cool, oily, but if it looks wet, that's a little too much. All right, now we're ready to slide it all back together. Biggest thing is that you make sure you get everything down flat. So that's the only way. It is possible to engage one side of the rail and not the other. So right here, I'm definitely, both sides are on. Work the action back, and then you're set. Give it a couple of these, make sure that everything is secure. It's not going to fly off the first time you fire it, and your gun is clean. What I usually do afterwards is I'll grab a rag, or again my son's sweatshirt, which I'll give back to him after I have used it here. Wipe the outside of it off. If it's oily, you can't hang on to it during a critical situation. So wipe the outside down. You don't need any oil on the outside of a gun at all. Sometimes it helps if you use gloves to clean the gun, and then as you reassemble it, take the gloves off and just put it back together with your hands, and then you won't have this issue at all. And that is a clean and ready to rock Glock Model 22. That's about all we got for today. If you have any questions or comments, be sure to get us below. We have all of our social media feeds down below, and right up over there somewhere there's a subscribe button. If you felt like any of this video was useful today, like it, share it, and subscribe to our show. We would really appreciate it. For Sweet Lou, this is Corvette Ronnie. This is Men Are So Smart. See you next time.